in a sense, all multi-camera sitcoms are about family in some form, right?
That's true.
Friends was, Will and Grace. I mean, it really is just a matter of whether you know that or not.
It's our friend Jim Burrows, who you know. Dave and I we're family focused to begin with, but I believe that Jimmy believes so much in heart in these little plays. And that was always drilled into us from the very moment we started working with him. That would be the point that the audience would relate. And I think that that's why, we're doing it.
What are you doing?
Same as you, sorting pills.
By Jews?
By my doctors. So yes.
I sort mine by the name of the pill.
The correct way to sort pills is by affliction. Everybody knows that. Read a book.
Disagree. Prep. Oh, remember condoms? No?
Ticks. What? I may have Lyme disease.
Frisch.
Ginkgo?
Vertigo.
Lipschitz.
Prep.
Ticks.
Frisch.
Ginkgo.
Vertigo.
Lipschitz.
Prep.
Ticks.
Frisch.
Ginkgo.
Vertigo.
Lipschitz. He had it coming. He had it coming. He only had himself to blame.
If you'd have been there.
If you'd have seen it, I bet you would have done the same.
Welcome to Behind the Lens. Today, well, you certainly know them if you've watched television comedy in the last 30 years or so. They've been involved with many of them, but most notably, of course, Will and Grace twice. And now their latest on Hulu, Mid-Century Modern. It is a great show. Please welcome Max Mutnick. Hi, Max.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
And David Cohen. Hi, David. Hello.
You got through those names. That couldn't have been easy, but you did.
Muchnick.
Muchnick. There's a ch in it. Yeah.
Anyway, congratulations on Mid-Century Modern.
Thank you.
I'm so happy it's in streaming and not on a network because it seems to have loosened you up against censors and possibly saying, can we get this past the network censors and all of that? It's so much fun to see a comedy like that just being what it should be.
It was an issue initially because, there was some conversation. Well, first of all, let me just say that having parameters, to push up against is sometimes a useful thing. When you're, it's like, what can we say? What can we not say? And how do we say it without saying it? And all of those sorts of things, which are kind of a fun challenge. But in this situation, we actually were pushing for, let us go a little bit farther. There's a novelty to that, like a multi-camera sitcom where you expect a certain,
But I think because we showed a little bit of discipline in terms of the pushing, I mean, it may not seem that way to, religious people, but we didn't go all the way.
Right.
It's not in every scene, in every episode.
We were responsible naughty people.
Right. because we were trying something out, and I think it worked because we feel like the show sounds like what people sound like.
Well, I'll tell you why it works. It works because it's about family. Created family, real family, whatever you want. You have all those elements in it. And ultimately, we are going to identify with these characters on other levels, whether we're gay or not, And of course, this is about, are we?
No, but I think he is. So let's be sensitive.
That's right.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, this is about characters there that living together, and
chosen family,
and it's the stuff of life, which is what it has to be. You got to be grounded in that, or it becomes joke of the week.
Oh, completely. And I mean, in a sense, all multi-camera sitcoms are about family in some form, right?
That's true.
Friends was, Will and Grace. I mean, it really is just a matter of whether you know that or not.
But I think it's our friend Jim Burrows, who you know.
Jim Burrows was sitting here with me just last year.
And said he had a great time talking to you.
He's a fantastic guy.
He's the
I
best.
also did a tribute to him at the Television Academy a few years ago, too. And he's just,
He's the
there's
best.
nobody like this guy.
But he's still going. Well, look, if you give him material that's worth, leaving one of his mansions for, he will show up to work.
Yeah.
But I want to, pay him this compliment. I think Dave and I we're family focused to begin with, but I believe that Jimmy believes so much in heart in these little plays. And that was always drilled into us from the very moment we started working with him. That would be the point that the audience would relate. And I think that's why, we're doing it still.
So how did this one come up? What was the genesis for it? We all know Will and Grace famously. It's really about many things in your own life and things. But here is what has been labeled, I know, 100th time you're going to hear this, but like the gay Golden Girls.
Yeah.
And that is a great thing promotionally because people know exactly what it is, except that it really isn't.
That's right. I mean, that's right. But it really started when we were years and years ago. Max and I wanted to write about older people, like people it's lived experience, and we had written a script called Senioritis, and our ideal cast at the time was
Tony
Curtis and Alan Arkin and Elaine Stritch and Sandy Dennis. Those giant
TV names.
But I'm telling you, that would have been
all now gone.
Yes. But that's what we love, and that because those voices are incredible to write to.
Well, Elaine Stritch, my God, and Tony Curtis, very always underrated as a comedic actor.
So much so, but anyway, so we did this. We wrote this thing, and we always liked it. And at the time, nobody was making a show. Nobody at the networks, was going to make a show about older people because everything was about 20-somethings and 30-somethings, but it was always interesting to us. And then we sort of decided to revisit it when we became those older people, and it didn't seem like a reach. It didn't seem like we were covering any sort of foreign territory. It was something that was familiar to us.
I was just thinking when we're 85, I guess we'll write like gay euphoria, which is euphoria. But it's so pleasant to write ages with characters with age and wisdom because they get to say things that the young folk don't.
By the way, in addition to your three main cast members, Nathan Lane, the great Nathan Lane, I'm so glad he's been given this.
A tour de force. It's a tour de force performance. It really is.
Yeah.
Nathan is where he's supposed to be.
And Nathan...
Lee Graham.
He's terrific from Broadway, right?
Yes, and Zoolander is what a lot of people know him from, but he's just like he's this guy that's been a utility player that's recognizable, and you'd see him at a supermarket and say, "Do I know you from?" Right? And I believe that we believe that this show will be the thing that just puts Nathan Lee Graham on the map.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
And of course, Matt Bomer, who has been here as well. And I love Matt. He's not an old guy.
No.
But he's the perfect counterpoint with them.
And he was originally written as an older character.
Oh, he was? Wow.
That's right. It was originally written, and then...
when it would have been the Golden Girls if you're doing all of that characters.
That's right. I mean, that's right.
But we have Ryan Murphy to thank for that.
He said, I think we should go to Matt Bomer with this, who he was working with, and we had worked with on Will and Grace at one point. And we said, well, that is a completely different conception, right? Because, and so at first we thought to ourselves, well, let's just say he's 65 to the dismay of everybody around him. He's the most well-preserved 65-year-old ever. And then that quickly became a one-joke gimmick, And then so it was like, well, how would that person have been integrated into this group?
Yeah.
And Max,
well, we were talking about
that person.
Yeah. I mean, it's been my role. I don't look like Matt Bomer, but I've had that job, which is the young member of an older tribe. You know, that was how I got socialized. You know, that's my gay experience. You know, I was the young one in the group,
Right.
and it's a good part to play, and it's a good role to have in your life because you learn so much, and so it felt honest, and we put it in the show, and it really, I think I mean, really, thank God that Ryan suggested that, because I don't think that we would have gone the way that we had written the show.
And Ryan is an executive producer on this,
Yes,
obviously, and I think was partially responsible for getting Nathan Lane because he had been in the Menendez brothers, right?
yeah.
I think he was on set working. We was going to see him the next day. And when we were writing the script, Nathan Lane was the person who was in our heads, and his voice, like we kept imagining Nathan Lane. And we said to Ryan, you know, we think Nathan Lane would be good for this person. I'll give it to him tomorrow. I'm seeing him on set tomorrow. I'll give it to him tomorrow. And he agreed to it the next day. I mean, it was really,
It was the easiest and best casting experience we've ever had. I mean, everybody needs a Ryan Murphy in their life because you know, you get a show made and you get like this level of talent. You know, I mean, maybe we had something to do with it, but Ryan certainly facilitated this incredible cast.
And beyond that, Pamela Adlon, who I see her role really.
Who we went to high school with.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's a family affair. So yeah, it's right. So we've known her
sister.
forever. Yeah, she's fantastic.
And people come in like Richard Kind, who I find so hilarious, and things. And then, of course, the late great Linda Lavin was a hell of a role for her to get here.
And she was so happy in the part, and she brought so much joy to this experience. And as much as anybody, this show is. Linda's force is a part of this show, and her nature is a part of this show and everything that we do. And it was, you know, we've been saying it was the most gratifying and the most devastating experience we have ever had.
Yeah, you guys had no idea.
No,
this was a
It
sudden...
was 2 weeks from beginning to end, the entire health scare. You know,
it's like crazy.
It was,
yeah,
There was a warmth and a kindness and a professionalism that pervaded the whole set. Like she set that tone and made it really one of the most enjoyable working experiences we've ever had.
But when we found out what was going on, one of the things that Linda said to us at the very beginning, it was Dave and myself and Nathan Lane, write about all of this. Please write about everything that's happening to me. She didn't think it was going to the place that it went, but she said to write about it. I bring it up only because I want people to know that the words that Nathan Lane speaks in episode 9, here's to you, Mrs. Schneiderman, those are more or less the words that Linda spoke in the car at her last moments of life. And he gives a performance that you don't regularly see on a multicam show. And
it was her request.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the other thing. You know, when she was saying, look, I'm about to go into something in my life, there's going to be like radiation and I'm about to fight a battle here. And to the extent that I am compromised, we shouldn't hide anything. We should put it right into the script, put it into the character. And so it was her directive. You know, she's the one who said, put it in the story.
It was amazing. Episode 9, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, tears, but laughs.
Yeah.
You have the unique ability to blend those things that can fall like a souffle if they're not handled right.
Yeah.
And especially with comedy, especially with a comedy like this one is.
Yeah.
To do it, when you look at this episode, it's the stuff of life.
But we're surrounded by pros, though. It goes back to the age thing, right? I mean, when you have Jim Burrows directing, Nathan Lane holding down the center of that story, you're dealing with just the best people that know how to do this, right? Yeah. And I think that's why we feel good that Linda would have been happy with what.
Oh my God! When he's writing the eulogy and it's so funny. And then the response of Nathan and Jerry, or Matt Bomer's character, is perfection. It's just great writing. And acting.
Thank you.
On that level, it's really good. And what's astounding to me is Linda Lavin has only been nominated once for an Emmy. That was for Alice, way back, one time. And never won. She's going to win this year.
I mean, it would be so incredible.
And
I
so
didn't know
deserving.
that. I didn't know that.
It's astounding. I actually had to go back and look at it again. What?
Yeah.
She was nominated for a daytime Emmy too, but a primetime Emmy, that's it. So 2 nominations, one's a daytime.
Yeah.
But
for a spot on Mike Douglas or something like that, right? And something like that. Her work is phenomenal too. I mean, in the week prior, that episode that she shot with Judd Hirsch was just incredible.
That's a great.
Linda's 87, Judd's in his early 90s, and they were just firing on all cylinders, and they work as fast and as nimbly as everybody else on that stage.
Yeah.
It's been a masterclass for everyone involved.
That was part of the shock, though, because she was so vital and so vibrant and so alive and on it.
Yeah.
So so beloved, I mean, that's what made it so shocking.
I know. But I read somewhere her psychiatrist or the therapist that she's had for years came in and told you guys that, I just want you to know something. She'd never been happier on a set in her life.
Yes.
So that's got to make you feel good.
Yeah. Linda wanted a few things in her life, and she was very open about them. She wanted a job that she believed in and that she liked saying the words. She wanted to be in love, and she wanted to live in Malibu. Yeah. And all of those things were true at the end of her life, and we're so glad we were near it.
Yeah. Well, Palm Springs, close to Malibu.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's on TV, but in real life, she was, I think, in Malibu. Yeah.
By the way, I love the cultural references in this. You're not going by the I Love Lucy thing. Don't date the show.
No.
Because you're right in there. I mean, I just laughed out loud when I heard Nathan Lane throw off something about Nicole Kidman and The Perfect Couple. I'm going like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
This is in the weeds.
Well, but it gets the audience a little bit more, again, because you're talking about things that people know about, because right. I don't like that disconnect in that people have with multicams, where they're in a world that's not a world that's recognizable to the day-to-day experience that you're having.
Yeah. What happened to multicams? It was suddenly out. It was like history after all of Norman Lear and Mary Tyler Moore and all of those classic shows done that way, and yours will.
It's about scripts and cast. That's what it's about. That's the only thing that it's about. And so it's like, if you find someone that has the skill set, because actors that do multicams have to have a skill set that's so advanced, and
right.
people don't realize that it's not a simple thing to do, right?
No.
It's stage work and film work, and it's a lot of skills under one hand.
It's amazing. Of course, you have a great writer's room here too. Put together really good writing staff and all of that. I years ago, way too long ago, I interned at MTM Enterprises through the Television Academy on the Bob Newhart show. And, I got to watch it. I got to watch what they went through. And there was one script they had that was so bad. It was written by an outside writer, and it didn't get the show at all. And so they said, yeah, this is it. We just take it and we do it. And they had to get it on in a couple of days. Yeah. Completely rewrite it, get it in front of an audience. And, that kind of pressure.
This writing staff, they put the written by Max and Dave. They're just the best.
Yeah. But also it's another nice thing about having done this for a while. Initially, that would be cause for panic, but over time, you're like, okay, we've been in this situation before, and we will just muster up the strength and the mental acuity to just do it,
and the willingness to order dinner, to order dinner in, because that's really what it requires. Just staying late a couple of nights, and we've done it so much that you just rewrite it.
You guys had the unique opportunity to do Will and Grace twice.
Yeah.
Revisit that, have the cast come back and do it for a few more seasons. both primarily during Republican administrations.
Right.
Certainly, the second Will and Grace was all during Trump's first term, and then the other mostly George Bush.
Right.
So, did that give you more fuel?
You
to
know,
do it?
it's interesting when we came back, and it was in the very first episode. There was a Trump joke, right? It had something to do it had something to do with his coloring or something like that, you know. And it was an orange. There was a Cheeto related joke. And like the audience was very weird about it. And people, one of the things that you realize is that people don't want to hear their politics on.
Wait, are you talking about Will and Grace or
Will and Grace?
Yeah.
It was the very first. The very first one when she was like,
Yeah.
she was, you know, talking about decorating the Oval Office and
Right.
you know, like matching
Yeah.
colors and the audience really didn't want to hear it. They didn't want us to.
But that didn't stop us.
Well,
No, didn't it come about the second Will and Grace because of politics?
that absolutely. Yes, it did. It was basically done as a. I don't even remember who requested that, but it was
me.
It was Matt Smucker who requested
Yeah,
that.
it
It
was
was like,
a little old
let's
me.
get everybody back together.
Yeah.
And just do things.
It was about we were doing it really as a support for Hillary, and in fact there's a very sad letter framed in my office from Hillary, who saw it at this thing that we did. This was just a YouTube clip, is what we did, and right, and she saw this thing and she was like, "This is so great!" And finally, the wind's at my back, and she thought she was winning, and thank you for this. This is just another supportive thing, and I believe the next day Jim Comey, you know, declared her an enemy of the state.
Oh my!
And things went sideways. But to his point, I don't think I'm positive we will not be going down a political road on this show, because
you have to come.
No one
at it-
wants
you
to
have
hear
to
it.
come at it obliquely, you know, because I really feel like this feels like it should be an antidote to politics, and you know, when even discussing, well, why should we do this? Why should we do a half-hour multicam now? And the most compelling argument is because people want relief from the Sturm and Drang of everyday like political life. You know, it's comfort food as far as we're concerned.
Well, it's definitely that. But we are living in a time when LGBTQ is under attack again,
right.
and by this administration and other people in it, and so they target,
Right.
you know. And do you think this show could be on a broadcast network?
I absolutely believe that it can, and I don't, you know, and still, with everything that's going on in the world, I think our job is just to make the show. If we can just make the show, that will do the work for us. But we're not going to pile on, and nobody wants to hear about this shit
It's
anyway.
hard to legislate against people that you love, right? So the goal is to fall in love with characters. The goal is not to preach, to be didactic, to try to posit any ideology. It's here are characters that hopefully you will identify with and fall in love with, and hopefully you won't want to enact legislation that hurts them. That's really it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way to approach it. Not,
But I don't feel like that's. I mean, that's right. But I don't think we're thinking about that when we're in the writing
we're not.
room.
We're not.
It's
You're
just
only thinking about the characters and the relationships and what will make a funny story.
Yeah, what's the best family story that we could tell with these characters?
Which works so well. Again, it goes back to the characters and the relatable, because you're probably doing more politically, as you just explained. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and showing the humanity.
Yeah.
And
It's hard to hate up close. It's hard to say no up close, and we'll just do what we do, tell the stories about these people, and let everybody out there decide what it represents.
So I'm sure you've been asked this: Will or Grace or somebody show up on this show? Maybe not as that, but as a guest star, or you know.
It is conceivable as a guest star, but it would be. I mean, well, let me
Not as those characters.
You think it would be odd? I mean, would it be odd to have that sort of cross pollination? Like Will Truman, what are you doing here? You know,
It would be like Gilligan walking into the Brady Bunch house.
Right.
You can't, we're just not.
yeah, that would both show which work.
Yeah, we're not going to reference our own work. We're somewhere else. Those people are brilliant. That cast is incredible. They are also monster
Why
talent.
not have the Brady Bunch walk into this one?
Yeah.
This show seems like it could run for years. Has it been renewed yet, or it will be?
We haven't been told that.
From your mouth to
It will
Hulu's ears, I hope
There
you're.
will be. Hulu,
I-
are you listening? Disney, all you people there, Bob Iger, come on.
Yeah, right. I mean, it would be very fun to write more of these stories because there's so much to say.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and we're itching to see it. I've seen all 10. I need more.
Yeah. Okay. We love it.
It's one of those shows you look at and you go like, this is what television was for a while. And I look at what the schedules the networks put out now, and there's barely any comedy on them.
You're right.
And it's just, and if it is, it's single camera and,
And not really.
it's the Bear, which is like, not laugh out loud funny like this is.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy always says, Burroughs always says, I've been to more funerals for the sitcom, and each time, reports of my death have been, it always seems to be making a comeback of some kind. So hopefully, I think people like the medium.
Exactly. Yeah, it's fun to watch. Thanks for joining us on Behind the Lens today.
Thanks for having us.
Max and David, and the show is Mid-Century Modern. It's streaming on Hulu. Don't miss it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.